Today we're going to review how Earth's rotation and revolution causes the cycles of daytime and nighttime and the cycle of the seasons. So let's start with this question. What causes daytime and nighttime? That's right, the rotation of the Earth, or how it spins around on its axis. How does the rotation of Earth cause daytime and nighttime? During rotation, the Earth spins on its axis. The part of the Earth that faces the sun changes during rotation, giving some parts of Earth daytime and some parts of Earth nighttime. How long does it take Earth to orbit or revolve around the sun? That's right, 1 year. What causes the seasons? The tilt of Earth as it revolves around the sun. Today we're going to be filling in part of this chart about the northern seasons. So we're going to be looking at the date the season begins in the northern hemisphere, the amount of sunshine, and the relative temperature. Don't worry, I'll fill it in with you. You just need to watch. Here is a picture of what trees look like throughout all of the seasons. You can see when the tree is really nice and green with a lot of leaves, that's summer. And then when the leaves start to fall off the tree, that's autumn or fall. When the tree has no leaves, that's winter. And then when the buds begin to grow on the trees, that's spring, which is where we are right now. And that happens every year over and over again. We can also think about the life cycle of a tree. At the bottom of this picture, it starts out as a small seed that grows into a plant, and then the plant grows into a tree that has buds and flowers in it. And then once those buds and flowers grow, it grows into the tree. And I don't know if you can see, but there are apples on this tree at the top picture. And in the fall, I know my family does this a lot, we go to the apple farm and we pick the apples. And then guess what's inside the apples? The apple seeds, which we can then plant to make another tree. And that's the life cycle of a tree. Here is a picture in summer. When the northern hemisphere is tilted toward the sun during Earth's revolution around the sun, it receives more intense light from the sun at a more direct angle. During this time, it is summer in the northern hemisphere. Around June 21st each year, the sun reaches its highest point overhead in the northern hemisphere. This is called the summer solstice and is referred to as the longest day of the year. That means that there is daylight for a longer period of time on that day than on any other day of the year. Here's a picture in winter. As Earth revolves around the sun, the seasons begin to change depending on which hemisphere is tilted most directly toward the sun. This depends on where Earth is on its revolution or orbit around the sun. One revolution takes 1 year, and each hemisphere is tilted directly in the sun for part of the year. 6 months after the longest day in the northern hemisphere, the shortest day occurs. The winter solstice in the northern hemisphere is on December 21st. When Earth is halfway between the two solstices, both hemispheres receive the same amount of sunlight. This means that the hours of daylight and of darkness are the same in each hemisphere. The days that are equal are called equinoxes. The autumn equinox occurs at the beginning of autumn on September 21st. The spring equinox occurs at the beginning of spring on March 21st. Do you notice anything about the dates and the numbers? Let's go ahead and fill in our chart. We just heard that spring starts around March 21st. Summer solstice begins around June 21st. Autumn equinox starts around September 21st, and winter solstice starts around December 21st. The amount of sunshine in spring is roughly the same number of day and night hours. In summer, there's more daylight hours than dark hours. It stays light out later. In the autumn or fall, again, we have roughly the same number of daylight and dark hours. And then in winter, we have fewer daylight hours than dark hours. It gets dark earlier. For the temperature, in the spring, it is warmer. In the summer, it is hotter. In the autumn and fall, it is cooler. And in winter, it is colder. We're going to start our next read aloud. I want you to listen carefully to find out more about the seasons in the Northern Hemisphere so we can complete the rest of our seasons chart. Do you know why many plants grow more rapidly during the summer and more slowly or not at all during the winter? Or why some animals migrate where others hibernate? Now, if you remember, when an animal migrates, it leaves to spend winter in a warmer place. When an animal hibernates, it finds a special place to rest until spring. Only certain parts of our planet have seasons. This is because of the shape and tilt of the Earth. The region around the equator receives the greatest amount of direct, intense sunlight. This region of Earth is called a tropical region because it is almost always hot and humid. On this picture, you can see where it says Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. The North and South poles receive the least amount of direct sunlight. They are the polar regions of Earth. Generally, they remain cold and dry. In recent years, however, as Earth's overall climate has changed and has become warmer, the polar regions are warming up too, and some of the ice caps in this region have been melting. And you can see the North Pole at the top and the South Pole at the bottom. The region between the poles on either side of the equator is called the temperate region. In this region of the world where we live, most places experience all 4 seasons of the year. We are located right where this arrow is, kind of around the back of where we can see. That's where Wisconsin would be about. So we can't see where we specifically are, but we can see that we are in the tropic or temperate area. Remember, during the time of year when the northern hemisphere is tilted toward the sun, this part of our world receives more daylight and more intense sunlight. This means it is summertime in the northern hemisphere. At the same time, the southern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun, so it is winter there. So the northern hemisphere is at the top of the earth, and the southern hemisphere is on the bottom half of the earth. If we look at this picture, we can see how it changes where the sun is depending on where it is around the sun. That's why, as Earth revolves around the sun and is tilted on an axis, the seasons change. Now let's discover more information about each specific season. As each year passes in the temperate region of the world, changes occur in the weather. These weather cycles have been divided up into what we call the seasons. Each season begins with incredible changes in the world around us. Next week, we'll talk about the different seasons of the year and how animals adapt to those seasons.